Hi, my name is Dan Mueller. My Aunt Joyce recently passed away, and I was asked if I would contribute some thoughts about my aunt. First, I should mention that I am a nephew and perhaps one of the closest relatives to my aunt. My mother and Aunt Joyce were sisters, and they were very close, often communicating every week while my mother was alive. My mother passed away in 2002, and I think my Aunt Joyce misses her a lot. I was born the same year that my Aunt Joyce graduated from high school in 1951. Joyce grew up on a farm, and I grew up in a small farming community called Tyndall, South Dakota. Joyce moved out to California in the late 50s in order to teach in the California school system. She remained a resident of California the rest of her life. My family has always traveled a lot, and over the years, I made innumerable trips to California to visit my Aunt Joyce. My Aunt Joyce also returned to South Dakota many times over the years, and she has always stayed either at my mom's house or at my house. I happen to have a lot of very old 8mm silent video that I shot over the years when Joyce and her boys would come to South Dakota. It is the video that I would like to share with you today. There is actually very little video of my Aunt Joyce herself, but I thought by sharing some of the trips back to South Dakota, you could come to know her a little better. I begin my videos with 1973. Guy Camilleri was born in October 1972. In 1973, my parents and I took a trip to California to visit Aunt Joyce and the new baby. Here's a video of my mother with Guy in Arcadia. In the summer of 1973, Joyce came to South Dakota with Guy. She introduced Guy to all of his cousins back here in South Dakota. Here's Guy with my mother. And here he is with one of his cousins. He was kept quite busy that year because there were quite a few cousins back here in South Dakota. In 1974, I spent a year in California as a pharmaceutical intern. During the time I was there, the twins were born. I was the first relative to see them, and I was at the hospital when they were born. This is a video of Marcus and Leo shortly after they were born. During the year that I was in California, I would often come to visit my Aunt Joyce. And this is some video of Guy playing around outside the house. This is Guy standing in front of my car. And finally, this is Guy being somewhat mischievous as he opens the clothes dryer and attempts to crawl inside. I don't think my Aunt Joyce ever knew that he did this. This is Guy at the park in a swing. And this is Aunt Joyce with one of the twins. In 1977, Aunt Joyce and the three boys traveled with me in my car from California back to South Dakota. This is the twins' first visit to South Dakota, and they got a chance to meet their cousins and have a lot of fun playing. This is my dog Duke, and the twins had a lot of fun playing tug of war with Duke. We also went down to the lake shore, and the boys had a lot of fun playing in the water. They were always very adventurous. They liked to find living critters, pick things up and play with them and show them to people. I'm not sure exactly what they have here, but they found some little critter on the edge of the water, and without fear they picked it up and are showing it to us. They also enjoyed playing in my mother's backyard. They had a lot of fun playing with the water hoses and the sprinkler system and getting each other wet. And here's one of the twins flexing his muscles as he tries to control how much water is coming out of the hose. This year they spent their third birthday in South Dakota. They would often spend their birthdays here because if they came in August, that was their birth date. We would invite all the cousins and all the kids in the neighborhood to come and celebrate with us and to play games. That year we went out to the farm. This is the farm on which my Aunt Joyce was born. My Aunt Joyce had two twin brothers, and we did some photography with the twin brothers. And here's the twins sitting on a tractor pretending they're farmers and driving, make-believe driving, arguing over who gets the steering wheel. This is me 40 years ago and my Aunt Joyce. There are actually very few videos of my Aunt Joyce, and this is just a couple of them that I happened to find. She always had the largest, most wonderful smile. In 1982, my Aunt Joyce and the boys made another trip back to South Dakota. Here is one of the twins playing with a turtle in our backyard. They always enjoyed any kind of living critter and would always have fun playing with them. And this was fishing down by one of the local lakes. Both of the twins always had a great amount of fun fishing at the lakes in South Dakota. It is one of the reasons they always wanted to come back to visit. And again, this is the twins playing in the backyard with the cousins. All of the cousins lived out on the farm, so they would have to drive into Tyndall in order to play with the boys. On occasion, we would also drive out to the farm so that everyone could play on the farm. I was into rocketry at the time, so when Guy came back to South Dakota, he always enjoyed playing with the rockets that I had built. And we would also often go out in the country and shoot them up into the sky. And then, of course, we'd have to find them in the fields. I should also mention that when Joyce and the kids came back over the 4th of July, they always had a lot of fun in South Dakota. In South Dakota, we are still able to buy firecrackers and fireworks, so they always had a lot of fun back here in South Dakota over the 4th of July. And as always, the vacation comes to an end. Here we are in Sioux Falls, South Dakota, and Joyce and the boys are getting ready to get on the airplane to fly back to California. It was always a sad time when my aunt and my cousins would have to go back home. In 1985, Guy, Marcus, and Leo visited South Dakota by themselves. Again, you can see that Guy has grown up quite a bit, and here we are out in the country playing with the rocketry and shooting the rockets into the air and trying to find them in the fields. And here the boys are getting ready to fly back to California by themselves. They are at the Sioux Falls airport. The boys would often hide fireworks in their suitcases when they flew back to California. In South Dakota, one could still buy firecrackers and fireworks for the 4th of July. They would hide them in their suitcase in the hopes that no one would find them. This, of course, would be impossible with today's security. In 2008, I made my last visit to my Aunt Joyce in California. I do not have any video, but I did take some photos of the plant life in her yard. My Aunt Joyce always enjoyed animals and plant life. And these are some of the flowers and plants that she had growing in her backyard. She always enjoyed showing them to me and showing me all the critters and the cats that she had. Aunt Joyce and I also went to the Getty Museum in 2008. and that's where these photos were taken. Here's a picture of myself, Guy, and Joyce. This is one of my cousins on the left and my Aunt Joyce. This is Aunt Joyce at the Getty Museum. And again, this is the two of us at the Getty Museum. Joyce's last trip to South Dakota was in the summer of 2014 to attend the Grimmy family reunion. This is Joyce as she shared some stories with the Grimmy family. This is the final group photo that we took. And here you can see Joyce in the upper right corner, and I'm kneeling on the ground right below her. This was the last time that my aunt was in South Dakota. I will miss my Aunt Joyce and the special relationship I had with her. Over the years, we shared a lot with each other, our joys and our sorrows, our successes and our failures. May she now enjoy a peace that passes all understanding.